Welcome to the Jacob Wayne Show. I am your Jacob Wayne, and the sensual Kellen Gibbons is here with me once again. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Feeling
Good.
sensual.
That's good. It's been a minute since we've done this, and probably we'll just do a lot of catch up on this episode and get back in the groove of things. You came down and visited, and we got up to some shenanigans, and then you went on another trip. So before we dive into any of that, what are you sipping on, sir? I don't know if you can see. Oh, that light.
Oh, look, it disappears. The thing thinks it's my background. It's a drink. It's a drink suit. I want it. There it is.
What is it?
It's a Jameson Caskmates Stout Edition. I bought some for the backpacking trip I went on, and I decided to keep it around a little bit. Have it on some ice. It's very tasty. I've been drinking whiskey on ice in a long time. It's really good.
Yeah, man. It's a nice little treat. I can't do whiskey all the time, but yeah, a little bit of sipping whiskey here and there is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm just doing a pineapple upside down cake Berliner by the Weldworks.
What? They didn't have that one when we went.
No, they didn't. Good. It was the next time we went. Neil and I went one more time. I think that was the only new one I recognized. Yeah, it's brewed with pineapple puree, almonds, milk, sugar, vanilla, and vanilla cake mix. So,
God. That sounds amazing. All the other beers I got from there were so good. We took them on our trip and had them at the trailhead, and they were something else.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, we might as well jump into a little bit of that. You got to finally go to Weldworks.
Yeah.
What was your impression?
That was awesome. We're cool spot, fun little place to hang out, and super tasty beers. We got like 2 different flights and had some amazing stuff. I think my favorite, I really like that orange creamsicle, and then I had one Bam tangerine, whatever. That one was really
Bam tangerine.
Yeah, that was tasty.
Oh yeah, those are very good. The Summerside or Summer Curbside or something like that was really tasty.
Yeah.
And we went through 2 flights, so by the time I got to it the first time, I was like, yeah, that's pretty tasty, and just like whatever. But when I went back with Neil, it just was clearly my favorite out of just one flight. So I don't know if it was a different batch or whatever, but that was awesome.
Yeah, that's some solid beer.
Yeah, we I suppose usually we get into food stuff a little bit. Before we get into any of the restaurants and stuff that we hit up while you were here, have you been cooking anything interesting lately?
No. Being on the week-long backpacking trip, that food is like the least interesting thing. That's like what gets you out of the backpacking. Like that's why you have to leave, is because the food sucks so bad.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm going to be trying some out a little later tonight, which is a thing I learned from a YouTube video. If I could remember the channel, I'd say it, but it's this guy that I think he takes an ingredient and he tries to come up with 4 affordable ways to cook it as like 4 meals. And I'm just going to do the first one. It's with chickpeas. So it's like a chickpea chorizo hash. And then you put some eggs in that and just some avocado. and yeah, it looks pretty tasty. So I'm going to try that out. But that's something you can make for less than $5.
That sounds very tasty.
Yeah. And then there's this other thing I think I'm going to try out, which is these like pickled chips, where you take
Ooh.
like a cupcake uh in pit what's the word I'm looking for, tray,
Yeah.
and you put a little bit of cheese in it, then you put a couple slices of pickles and then a little more cheese on top, and you just bake that at 400 for about 15 minutes. It makes them in these little melty cheese pickle chips.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
yeah, so I'm gonna try that out. But other than that, nothing else too adventurous. So let's get into some of the restaurants. We hit up a lot of our classics here in Fort Collins. Chiba
Indeed.
Hut.
Always a favorite.
Did we ever get to Music City Hot Chicken?
No, not this time.
Oh, well, yeah, we
Big
need to
Sag.
next time. We did the La Crêperie,
One of my favorites.
Lucille's.
Also a favorite.
I don't
And
know if I'm thinking.
Bawarchi.
Oh yeah,
Birria.
Bawarchi Biryani.
Yeah.
Bawarchi Biryani.
Yeah.
And I need to quit getting the biryani there because it's too good and it's too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I get it the first night, and then I'm just like eating, because what I love is that they have goat and lamb. So I get the goat
Yeah.
biryani, and I'm just like eating all the pieces of meat and getting some good, forkfuls of rice, but then you've barely even eaten half of it. And then you put it in the fridge, and then you know how rice gets in the fridge after like even a day or two. You're like,
Yeah.
not the best. And then I ate all the meat bits. So then it's just like, I'm going to waste this. So
Toss it.
it's too good. You could get one of those and split it between two people, and you'd probably be completely satisfied.
There you go.
So I just need to start going there and really trying out all the other little things on the menu. Yeah. What did you get there?
I got some kind of goat curry,
Mm.
and it was so delicious. I just remember I ordered mild on the spice. I think I ordered like a 3 or a 5, and that shit came out like that's like the hottest thing I've eaten in a long time.
Yeah, I remember that now.
It was good. It was delicious, and I ate the whole thing, but I paid for it dearly.
Well, there's a testament to how
Yeah.
good it was. You're not
Yeah.
as into the spice. Speaking of spice, here's this shirt.
Oh, hell
Ed
yeah.
Gink represent that hot sauce company. They're Cambodian American hot sauce.
Ooh.
So shout out to them. It's a very comfy shirt. I've had it for a few years, and great hot sauce.
Hell yeah.
Is there any Fort Collins restaurants I'm forgetting?
I can't think of any. That was all the ones at FC that I remember.
There was that issue with the Dazbog, which is a very tasty little spot, but I feel like every time we go there, it's like we just decided to close it too. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like 50% of the time I've ever been there, they've been closed, which is a huge, huge bummer.
Yeah. I guess we could have gone to the Human Bean. That was like our first destination when you visited during the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
I think we walked down there just to see what they were doing, and then they're like, you can't come to the window anymore. You got to come in a car.
Yeah, because cars keep the COVID in them. You can't transmit COVID from a car.
And then, some will rename nameless, but there was some paranoid thoughts about what does this all mean with our little crew, and just a lot of speculation and paranoia. And, luckily the whole country's, gotten on the same page and gotten the vaccine, and it's over.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So one thing I was going to get into, though, is we went down to Denver to see Doug Stanhope on August 21st. The next day was my birthday. It was kind of a fun little birthday weekend, an opportunity to have a bunch of buddies visit. So we went down to Denver, got this pretty sweet Airbnb.
Yeah.
Do you remember the location of Denver? Not like the address, but like the area of Denver.
No, I can't remember. I know it was pretty close to that that theater, I guess. So
Yeah, so Doug
that
Stanhope
side.
was at the Oriental Theater.
Yeah.
It was a great spot. It was my first time going there. And
Mm-hmm.
where the Airbnb was, it was seemed super chill and nice. And I guess it would have been like the northwest end of Denver, something
Yeah.
like that.
Like the closest to Fort Collins, I think, was up in
Yeah.
that area. So
So we dropped off our stuff, went down to the Oriental Theater. Right across the street is this awesome spot. It was
grateful.
the Grateful Gnome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like Grateful Dead vibes, but then there's gnome stuff and like it's just this sandwich spot
Brewery.
and brewery, and the beers are really good and everything. I have been spoiled by Weldworks lately, and as you have probably all heard by now, I'm not as big into beer. I hang out on seltzers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can't speak to the beer too specifically. They did have a pretty good nitro like coffee one that I drank right before the show to kind of perk up a bit.
Yeah, that
But
was good.
the sandwiches were just godly. Um, I always like to try a meatball sub or a Cuban at a new sandwich spot. The Cuban's kind of been a recent obsession of mine.
Yeah, I love
So
those.
I was seasawing, but then I got the Cuban, and man, I was just so pleased with that. Uh,
Yeah.
Took a big old bite out of our buddy Neil's sandwich. He had this big old turkey club, I think, and I mean that was solid too.
Yeah, they had so many sandwiches. It was awesome.
What'd you end up getting there?
I got the Denver dip,
Oh yeah,
which is yeah, little au jus. It was tasty. But yeah, and all the beer was killer. And it's just a cool place, really cool vibe. I would totally be chilling there if I lived in that area. That'd be my bar.
yeah. No, yeah, I'm excited to like have another reason to go there. I think we were gonna go see Devin Townsend there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the theater.
Yeah, so sometime in the future we'll head back, and I can't wait to try more of that restaurant. But then we went in to see Doug Stanhope, which if you don't know, he's comedian's comedian. He's like one of the best working today. I think as more and more people learn about him, especially as time goes on, he'll go down as one of the greats.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think I've even heard Dave Attell say that Doug Stanhope is his favorite comedian.
Oh wow.
And I mean, Dave Attell is one of my favorites. So um, it was pretty great though, because he was clearly like working out a lot of his stuff. And so you could really kind of see one of the better comedians out there work on their material and construct the jokes and the premises. Like he had a pretty great bit about the vaccine and
Mm-hmm.
taking kids to school, and he kept kind of weaving that in and out of just other things. Did a little bit of crowd work, but then as you're like, this is pretty solid, like you're laughing, but then he starts to go into his material that he's honed a bit more,
Yep.
and then it's just like, oh holy shit, it's just like bang bang bang, like, and it's a great crowd too, because um yeah, it's his crowd, they're probably a lot of like drunks and libertarians and things of that nature, but not the annoying QAnon libertarian, like the I just want to get fucked up and fuck the government.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like loosey goosey people having sex in the bathroom, wandering to the bar halfway through a thing. And Doug Stanhope is so used to that and probably a part of this general vibe that he can just keep going on his material and nothing's interrupted. So there was kind of a lot of like hustle and bustle and movement that you don't normally see at a lot of comedy shows,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool. Do you remember the opener?
I still never looked up his last name, Junior or something. I'll see if I can find it if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. He kind of had a mixture of like Sam Kinison, a little bit of Stephen Wright. I feel like I was thinking one other guy, but Bobcat Goldthwait, and he really worked with pacing well, like letting a joke just kind of sit on top of you, and then it hits, and then he kind of lets it sit for a minute. He had a lot of these like kind of weird, surreal like takes on really mundane material. Like he went off on dating, but in like a really weird meta. It's all about how he's talking about it. It's not even that he's really talking about it. I'm trying to like not give it away.
Uh-huh.
But he was on Last Comic Standing.
Yeah, Junior Stopka.
Junior Stopka.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was pretty damn good, and
Enjoyed him.
yeah, obviously both comedians are more offensive than others, so keep that in mind if you go check them out, like, because I'm sure they don't want to hear your complaints and you don't want to be offended, right? So just don't listen to them.
They're not giving any, you're just taking it.
Yeah. So we watched that. We had some good drinks. Oh yeah,
Too
that was
much
one.
pizza.
Well, I was gonna get to that part.
Oh, the drinks at the show. Yeah.
There was one funny part where we were up top in the Oriental Theater, and they have a bar up there, and I think it was the theater owner or something like that. He was just like, "Oh, by the way, feel free to move around. There's a bar upstairs too." And everybody upstairs is like, "Shh."
Yep.
Like, boo, how dare you?
Don't tell him the line was so short.
Yeah. But luckily it didn't really affect things too much. It looked like there's a pretty good balance. So we leave the theater. We're all pretty hungry. It's like, all right, let's get a little like a drink or some grub before we're heading back. So we started kind of looking around at stuff nearby, and there's this Atomic Cowboy restaurant.
Yeah.
And trying to not like come down on this guy too hard, because it like wasn't even that big of a deal, but like we went in there and it was just like there's kind of just like, are we like welcome in here? Because there's just kind of like this like, who are all these fucking guys showing up? And we're just like, all right. And so we just sat down in the booth, and then the server came up and he's like, yeah, so what do you want? Like kind of just like really matter of fact, like, what do you even fucking, you want food or something? Like, and we're just like, wow, all right, we'll have a beer, sorry sir. That being said, it's like, all right, we got, looks like pizza here, that kind of stuff. Got some incredible pretzel bites. And then we're like, well, like we ate earlier, we're just looking for a little snack. Maybe we just get one pizza we can all share.
Yeah.
And there was like a 20-inch pizza or a 26.
Yep.
And it was like, we'll just do the 20. That's pretty big. And just got the meat lovers or whatever. But he comes back like, you can't get the 20-inch right now. It has to be the 26-inch. We're like, okay, like we'll do that. He brings out this giant 26-inch pizza, like New York City slices.
Enormous.
And it was super, super tasty. But yeah, it was also, pretty damn filling. Didn't finish it.
Yeah.
And then we got out and we got an Uber, and it cost like $600. I can't remember. But it was insane. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So I think we bit the bullet. It was really something more like 60, 70 bucks, something like that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we split it, went back to the Airbnb, played Sorry, did a little drinking game to that, took some silly fucking photos, and it was a hell of a night.
Indeed.
We woke up the next day, went to
Bagel Radiator.
Joint. The Radiator. It was like a bagel joint, right?
Well, it was a bar by night, bagel coffee joint by morning.
Oh, and like a mini dog park.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, I got the lox, which I think one of the only reasons I got it is I love salmon in the morning lately, and that game Valheim that we play. There's like the
Yeah.
lox meat, and it just made me think about that. So I was like, all right, yeah, get the lox. But that was super tasty there. Um, we didn't get to eat at the Zo Mama. It was that awesome noodle joint down by the
Mhm.
Union Station in Denver. But we went to,
Something horse, maybe.
I can't remember.
Yeah, some kind of gastro eatery.
Oh yeah,
Really
it was a
expensive.
gastro pub. That's what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah, super pricey. The food was good. Got like
it
this
was tasty.
queso chips, and you got something.
Some chicken. Really,
Yeah,
they called it. It was chicken tenders. They called it something else, but it was chicken tenders.
yeah. So it's obviously one of those places that is like, yeah, this is a pub, and we're trying to be fancier than we really are. But yeah, so it was a hell of a gastro adventure.
Yeah, lots of food. So much
Yeah.
food.
But it was just great hanging out with all the boys. You guys got to meet my buddy Devin. Just watched a bunch of good movies, which I guess unless there's like some food or Denver stuff you wanted to get into, we could do movies real quick.
Yeah, let's go to movies.
All righty. Chatting movies. We're gonna figure out the song thing.
Soundboard incoming someday.
Yes. And if you know anything about that, feel free to write us at the Jacob Wayne Show at gmail.com.
We might hire you
And
as our tech director.
ooh, that'd be nice. All right, so I watched a shit ton of movies. So we're gonna go super quick through these. When Devin showed up, the first thing we watched was They Live. Have you seen that?
No.
That is the one where the guy is like, I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. He
Oh
just
my
starts
God.
shooting people. It's like they got the sunglasses, and then he can see like the signs in the street that say obey or consume. It's John Carpenter movie. He's the guy that did Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing. Escape from New York, like awesome director. I really need to like see all his stuff, but They Live is a classic. Little bit of trivia. There's an episode of South Park called Cripple Fight.
Yeah.
And they designed that whole fight off of the fight in They Live.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's like, you dirty motherfucker. It's just that whole thing.
Nice.
So I think that was the reason me and my buddy Steve watched They Live back in the day, was just to see that fight, and then we loved the rest of it. But trying to move on a little quicker, we then watched Hellraiser. Have you seen that?
Oh man, like maybe a long time ago.
Yeah, not as much about Pinhead as you would think. It's kind of like this weird body horror sexual thing, and I think it's actually pretty awesome, even though it is really cheesy too. It's like a really good mixture between the two. Then
Nice.
you showed up and we watched The Lawnmower Man. And
Awesome.
yeah. I was pretty faded that night, so I don't really remember, but we watched like the director's cut, which I found to be not anywhere near as good as the other version.
Yeah, it was like totally different.
But awesome movie. Pierce Brosnan, chimp with a gun, Cybo Man.
Yeah.
Looks like Trey Parker. It's awesome.
Great movie.
Then after our Denver shenanigans, we got back on Sunday night and watched Chocolate. That's a Muay Thai film about a autistic girl who just watches and then like memorizes how to do that kind of martial arts. What did I just say? Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And it's a very silly, cheesy Thai film, but I think it's also very entertaining and pretty good fight choreography. It's not as good as The Protector with Tony Jaa, which you should see as well if you're into that kind of stuff. But
dude, the craziest part about that movie was after the credits where they showed the dudes like actually like falling off of buildings. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they didn't do stunts. They just literally fell off that building. Okay.
We're gonna throw you off right here and hopefully only break your shoulder, you know,
Land soft.
not your
Land
leg.
soft. It's brutal.
Yeah, it was. And they're all like super happy about it. Like, you know, we're just trying to make a movie in Thailand. Like,
I'm in a movie.
it's a little rough. But yeah, it was a good movie. Then the next day we watched Idiocracy. And that was the first time I'd seen that in years, and it really holds up.
Classic. So funny.
Yeah.
Too close to home now.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. The idiots nowadays aren't as funny.
No.
Like, I would kind of be okay with this version of idiocy.
I'm a fuck all y'all.
How you want to go family style on her? Just oh yeah. I mean, there's too much stuff. We would just be running through quotes. But if you haven't seen Idiocracy, check that out. Then we watched Tiptoes with Matthew McConaughey and Gary Oldman playing a little person. But this was released in 2003, so people are a little more flippant with, like, they're like, he's a midget. You just say it, I'm a dwarf. You're like, you're not a what?
I'm a dwarf. You're a dwarf.
We're all dwarf. Like,
oh, Matthew, easy.
Yeah, and Matthew McConaughey is such a piece of shit through the whole movie.
I know. I thought he was going to be like the character that grows and changes, but no, he just sucks the whole time.
He got worse.
Yeah. It's like, what is this movie?
Oh my god. And then it just, his Gary Oldman's little pillow stuffed legs when he's like in the couch. And just
and how they just have
Kate
him walk.
Beckinsale's shitty outfits. I'm an artist. I'm just expressing myself. Like, you're like, nobody wears that.
Nobody.
She's like wearing like a general coat and then little pom-pom beanie hat with like boxer shorts on. Like, what?
And they thought they could just get away with never shooting Gary Oldman's legs, like when he's moving or walking or standing, and he would look like normally sized.
Yeah,
it didn't work at all.
He's clearly shuffling around on his knees.
Like, it's blatantly obvious.
And he's like, that man deserves an Academy Award. I can't remember if he ever actually got one. But yeah, that whole movie is like, what the fuck was everybody thinking? It has what's his name? He played Tyrion in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
He's like a French militant communist playboy who sleeps with Patricia Arquette. And then he's just like, the only real power comes from the barrel of a gun. Like, he has a terrible French accent. I think that was one of his first movies.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Yep. So rent it, because it's kind of, you're not going to see it streaming.
Nope.
Watch Tiptoes.
Worth it.
That might have been the last movie you were there for. So then the next night we watched American Psycho. Have you seen that?
I don't think so. I think that's what I missed.
You got to check it out, man. Just for the pure psychosis of how into like Huey Lewis in the News he is. Like, there's all kinds of stuff, like an ATM telling him to feed a cat to it. And just being obsessed about people's business cards and what kind of paper they're printed on. Like, it's a classic Christian Bale. It's like one of my favorite roles of his. Yeah, it's disturbing and weird, and it's just a total commentary on like the vacuous, coke snorting materialism of the 80s. So really good movie. Then we watched The Lighthouse. Have you seen that yet?
No, that one's on my list still. I'm gonna check that one out.
We're gonna need to watch that together because this
Okay.
is the second time I watched it, and I loved it way even more. And it's just filled to the brim with like nautical northeast 1800s like English. So it's like a very particular treat, just even on the language of it.
Nice.
Uh, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. William Defoe, not William DeFriend, William Defoe.
Oh,
He is that's like might be one of my favorite roles of his because he's just
oh wow.
such a I don't yeah I can't you got to watch it, but it's a totally metaphorical piece of filmmaking, so it's very a lot of surreal imagery, and you're not totally sure what exactly is going on and what's real and what isn't, but who William Defoe is playing, we can talk about it some other time, but it's incredible. So we then watched one during the day while I was doing a little bit of work at home, and we watched Behind the Curve. That's the
Ooh.
documentary on flat earthers. Have you seen that?
Oh no, not yet.
It's not as good, and it would be really hard
uh
to compete with King of Kong,
oh
but
yeah.
it is very much like that, where it's following these people around, and you're like, holy shit, this is how serious they take this, and they can say that with a straight face, and like not even doesn't even occur to them that what they just said was absurd.
Yep.
And so it's very entertaining on that level, but I think for me personally, the flat earth, QAnon, crystals heal the forest way of thinking these days has really worn me out.
Yeah.
And I got really burnt out by the end of the movie, just like listening to this nonsense.
No, like, because it's not even like the science is being denied enough on points that are actually somewhat shifty, maybe. And that's one thing that is just stupid. This is not even a question.
Yeah.
So that's like, yeah, yeah, I get you.
Well, we'll get into this meme section a little bit later, but one meme I came across, but I didn't save it, so I'll have to paraphrase it, was just the funny thing about today is people sitting on an electrified piece of plastic and metal, sending incredible amounts of information over the airwaves through satellites and all that, just so they can read an article about how science is a bunch of lies.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
It's just,
and they don't
it's
get it.
like religion or anything else or politics. It's like you'll consume every bit of it that confirms what you believe, and then
Mm-hmm.
just throw out the shit that bothers you or offends you. And just
Exactly.
like, well, and it's like, no, you got to kind of like, that's the whole point of science, is to keep asking questions and keep testing things. And there are some things that have been tested so much and so relentlessly through so many different fields of study that it is pointless to ask that question, like gravity or evolution.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's all kinds of subtleties to those subjects that continually will be studied and questioned and should be. And
exactly.
that, yeah,
That's science.
yeah, it's about not being too certain, but feeling confident in study and research and data. So
Yeah. You should feel
anyway,
dumb when
yeah.
you look at science. And most of those people like, well, I found this guy on YouTube that makes me feel smart. So I win science. I'm smarter than science.
Well, and that's the insidious natures of the algorithm
Yep.
of like all these different sites is you get that one video where like, that was kind of intriguing what he said about the Illuminati or whatever. But then YouTube just starts feeding you Illuminati videos, and politicians are lizards, and Hillary and Ellen get together every weekend and eat baby skulls, and
Yeah.
you're just like, wow, it's just so easy to get sucked into these weird things. Which we watched that. It's Channel 5 news now. It used to be All Gas No Brakes.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we talked about this much or not on here, where it's like he will go visit all these like crazy groups like furries or flat earthers or QAnon or Trump bikers for Trump or something like that.
Yep.
And when you whittle it all down, it seems like you're either team aliens or you're team anti-Semitic hardcore Christian. And those seems to
Yeah.
be like the core of every little wacky belief system and group. Is it's God versus the devil on one side, and the devil's clearly the Jews. And then on the other side, it's like, no, like we're aliens and we're all an alien species, and you have like different alien DNA in you that vibrates with a certain frequency in the universe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, both of these are insane, but I guess I gotta go team alien.
Unfortunate.
Like the furries was the coolest group of people.
It's true.
They're fucking wild, but I'm like, they're all pretty friendly and smoke a bunch of weed and don't really seem to care if you buy into what they are selling. So that's
That's
kind
the
of why I
best
think I
part.
could kind of handle it. But,
Yeah.
you know, and it's, yeah, there's nothing wrong with going down a rabbit hole of what is this really all about? Or maybe there's something to this that we don't know. But I think that's the difference is, you know, if you're smoking pot and just, yeah, how does all of this work? Like, nothing wrong with that. But if you become the guy who gets mad at your friends because they're not truthers like you are, or,
Unfortunate.
you know, it's just like, dude, fuck off. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you could be a little frustrated that people didn't look into something the way you wanted them to, but to get mad at people for accepting the generally agreed upon narrative, it's
Mhm.
like, dude, I don't have time to like question everything, man. It's like, yeah, there's probably some legit 100% true conspiracy things. Like a good example would be what's his Epstein.
Yeah.
I think that was one of those things where we all agreed, like, man, somebody in power had him killed.
Yeah.
And I think we can all more or less kind of agree upon that. And like the bombing of the boat, I can never remember the name of it, to start the war in Vietnam, how that came
Yeah.
out later. There's like, oh yeah, we just needed something to help kickstart it.
Uh-huh.
So shit definitely happens, but it's like, once again, you need data and confirmation that you can't use anecdotal stories or this one YouTube video. Like there is way more to research than just reading a book or watching a couple YouTube videos or reading an article or two.
Yeah. I think you have the same amount of knowledge as somebody who's studied it, made this their life study. It's insane.
Right. Well, and I mean, that obviously bleeds into COVID and the vaccine and all that, but we don't even need to do that because you've probably all heard about that plenty. So obviously, the movie Behind the Curve, you know, had me feeling things and thinking about things. So I
Indeed.
got to give it credit for that, I guess. There was a really good point at the end, and spoiler, but whatever, where the main guy they're following is like the main speaker at one of these conventions and all that stuff. And I think one of the filmmakers is like, um, you spent all this time building a career in a community out of being a flat earther and you continue to question it, which was good. But if you ever came across the information that was good enough for you to say, oh, I guess the world is round or a sphere, then would you even be willing to leave now that you've built your whole life around this? Like you would be alone and you're already like an outcast from the conventional way of thought, which is that we do live on a globe, but you'd be an outcast with your flat earther friends too. And then you just see him like kind of put his head down and stare into the middle distance, and that's how the whole thing ends.
Hell yeah.
And you're just like, yeah. I think
Get
that's a lot
roasted.
with like religious belief, conspiratorial belief, is that you find a community or you find self-importance in it. And so even if
Yeah.
you did get to a point where it's like, oh, got proven wrong, you're not going to leave,
Oh no.
because then you'd be alone, and nothing's worse.
Yeah.
Some people like being alone more than others, but humans don't seem to do too well when they're outcasts or alone,
Nope. I don't know.
which is the whole thing. That's a great debate about some of these Trumpers or QAnon folks or anti-vaxxers, is it's like, clearly we're doing them a disservice by pushing them to the fringes of society and making them even worse. But when you're that volatile, potentially violent, and just angry, how do you keep somebody like that in society and around everybody else and help them kind of get back to some kind of normalcy?
Yeah, you don't. You kick them out and you start taking away their ability to communicate with each other and get crazy. Facebook should totally be censoring those idiots. Yep.
Sure. Well, and that's Facebook,
Yeah, and that's their thing. That's not the government anyway, so they can do whatever they want. No
Yeah,
free
it's like
speech on a
when you're
company.
just down going to the grocery store. It's like, well, clearly they need access to all this, but quit spitting on the vegetables.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It's
But
bizarre.
nobody should be spitting on vegetables. We can agree on that. You should go to jail, no matter what you believe.
But the lady licking the door window, like, all right, you're not hurting anybody. I guess she
No
can
one
do
else is gonna
that,
lick
but
that.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you're clearly disrupting the social fabric. I don't know. It's an interesting question about, yeah, how much do you try to help them get back because it's
Yeah.
clearly better for society? Or do you like, nope, just fuck, we got to start building up some fucking walls and get rid of these motherfuckers? Like, clearly that's not the
That's
best,
their
but
method.
yeah. But they like, they're making us want to do it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, god damn it.
Shut up.
Yeah, anyway, we'll move on. Then the next day we watch Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. That's basically the South Park joke of Russell Crowe, where it's like, making movies, making songs, and fighting around the world.
Yeah.
It's basically that, the movie. It was pretty solid though, that being said.
Nice.
There's this nice little subsection of it where they go to the Galapagos Islands, and this doctor is researching the different species and the relationship between Russell Crowe, the master of the ship, and then this science guy, and how they get along. It was pretty good.
Nice.
Then we were like, oh, they made an American Psycho 2 called All American Girl with Jackie from that 70s show.
Ooh.
What's her actual name?
Oh shit. Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis. Yeah. That movie's, it's on that level of like Tiptoes, where it's like, it's so bad that it's like kind of entertaining, but it's ridiculously bad. But the sound, like, one particularly funny part about it is we had the subtitles on, and so it would read the lyrics to the songs in the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And man, like, the lyrics were so incredibly bad for every song. It was amazing that they compiled that many songs that have generally a pretty good 90s singer-songwriter vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you just read the lyrics, you're like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I would quote some if I could remember any off the top of my head, but I can't right now. But the movie also has William Shatner in it.
Nice.
As a perverted professor. And all I will say is that one review on Letterboxd for this movie was "Shut Up, Meg," which was pretty awesome.
Nice.
So down to the last five. Try to go really quick. Then we watched Natural Born Killers. Have you seen that?
Good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Been a long time. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was rewritten, but it was written by Quentin Tarantino first. I think that helped him fund Reservoir Dogs, or maybe it was Pulp Fiction. I think I jumbled that up, but Oliver
cool.
Stone, crazy weird director, classic movie. Then we watched Blazing Saddles, and that was my first time watching that.
Oh yeah, forgot you'd never seen that.
And it was solid. Yeah, definitely interesting watching it with today's context.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of racial jokes. I think you know what time it came out and what they were trying to do with it and what they were trying to say, but yeah, there's a couple ones where it's like, I know I had some buddies growing up that would laugh a little too hard at some of those jokes. Like, yeah. You're like, actually, that was just the dude being a piece of shit. I wouldn't say that was very.
That's not the funny
clever
part. But I think the funniest part is the singing at like the very start of the movie, where they're like, "Do one of your songs," and they do the like Gershwin, like beautiful barbershop harmony, like. That cracked me up.
And they're like, what the hell? No, this song we know, like town races.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And yep.
But it was great seeing Gene Wilder. I hadn't watched something with him in it for a minute, and he's one of my favorites, and
he's hilarious.
Have you ever seen Haunted Honeymoon?
No, I haven't.
So that's one, and I haven't seen Young Frankenstein. So I'm going to save those for October, my favorite time of the year, the October Scary Movie Fest or Halloween Movie Fest.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to throw those two in the mix for that month. Then this is after Neil left, and I'm just like by my lonely again, doing a little bit of work at home. Threw on Predator. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just total pure 80s action classic. You're one ugly motherfucker.
Good times.
Then I'm going to start doing documentaries on Mondays, Documentary Mondays. And I watched this documentary on Val Kilmer. He's a weird guy, maybe a bit too woo-woo for my taste. But he had some form of throat cancer or something like that.
Oh.
So now when he talks, it's like, I'm so happy and you love me. You know, like that.
Yeah.
Perfect impersonation. And beautiful. He had a little brother that would make movies with him, and he always wanted to be the actor in them. And that little brother passed away at one point. But they had established the habit of filming everything. He always had like a handheld camera or something.
Yeah.
So he has just constant footage of him walking around with a camera. So he has all this really interesting behind the scenes footage of him on his various movies like Batman Forever and The Island of Dr. Moreau and The Doors. And so it's really kind of a time capsule of Val Kilmer's life and what he tried to do as an actor, and it's pretty good. Not the best. You have to be into Val Kilmer and those movies, I think, to really value it, but I don't know. Or be a little woo-woo, and then maybe you'll love it.
Yeah.
But the last movie, last but not least, I watched Raising Arizona.
Oh, so good. I watched that not too long ago.
Yeah, it was free on YouTube, and God damn it, I had to throw it on. It's just
great movie.
I kind of forgot how much I love the who's the guy on the motorcycle?
I don't know the actor's name.
I don't even know if they
demon, the devil, whatever.
Yeah, he's just like the demon. But yeah, he's just like throwing grenades at little innocent bunnies.
Yeah, So evil. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's all of that, like the camera work of him and his like dream and the realization that the baby's been stolen. Like it's very cool, surreal camera work.
Yeah, that's such a good movie.
And I have such a crush on Holly Hunter,
Oh,
the wife in Raising Arizona.
you get me those babies.
Yeah, I could hook up with the down home girl like that.
There you
But
go.
yeah, that was all the fucking movies in August. And
Nice.
how much time does that leave us? That took a minute. How long have we been going?
Oh, about a little under an hour, I'd say.
All right.
So,
So we'll just get into whatever you'd like to get into.
oh,
I could be good here, or we could do other stuff. I could go either way.
well, I did get up some little information. I thought if you wanted to talk about that trip I went on a little bit, I could
Yeah,
toss out
yeah,
some
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
about that real quick.
So where'd you go again?
So I went to the Wind River Range. You ever heard about that place or?
Natty Light,
Ooh,
Seltzer, Aloha Beaches, Mango Peach.
well, that sounds good.
Sorry, what was your question?
Have you ever heard of that? The Wind Rivers? What's your? Have you just
I've
ever
only
heard
heard
it in
about
passing?
ideas about it from you doing it yearly,
You
but I
know,
wouldn't know exactly where it's located or what it is exactly.
didn't hear about people like going up there with scout troops and stuff much. Haven't heard about it that way.
No, I was very anti-scouts. I
We're
tried everything I could to not pay attention when I had to go to that.
I get that.
Yeah.
But cool. So it's a mountain range. It's like kind of the sister range to the Tetons.
Okay.
Um, so it's in Wyoming. It contains the highest mountain in Wyoming, Gannett. Um, and then also the third highest peak is Fremont Peak, which when you look at the range, that's the one that looks like it's the highest peak. For a long time, everybody thought that was the highest peak in Wyoming and in the entire Rockies. They actually thought it was taller than any of the ones in Colorado, which they were way off there. But the Grand Teton in the Tetons is the second highest peak, and the next like 13 peaks after Grand Teton are all in the Wind River. So it's like the big wilderness, like Tetons is a national park. This is a wilderness area. So you just go up, you sign your name in, and you start hiking. You have to walk like at least 5 to 8 miles to get to like anything, like to get to the good stuff. So
yeah.
it kind of is a little bit different than other parks. You really have to backpack in there. See, it's the headwaters of the Green River, which runs all the way from up there, all the way down through Utah, through Colorado, and then joins the Colorado River and runs out to California. And yeah, it's an amazing place. We were up there for 6 days and just hiked into a lake and day hiked from there. And we got rained on, got snowed on, got caught in a thunder blizzard.
Did you get Edward snowed on?
Hey. And our
uh,
tent didn't leak because he wasn't in it. Hey.
hey.
So yeah, it's a good trip.
America's lying to you. Sorry.
Wake up.
Wake up, sheeple. Air gets pretty thin up there.
It's not super high elevation. If you if we weren't from Utah, we might feel it a little more. Or not, it's not too much higher than where we are here. So it does when you're way up at the high lakes, you can feel a little bit of it, but not too bad.
Okay. Well, hell yeah. Yeah, I know you and your brothers love that spot. I've heard other people say that they really like it. I seem to remember when Trump was fucking with Bears ears.
Yeah.
If I may, I think I'll paraphrase something you said where you're like, if he comes for the Wood Rivers, it's fucking over.
Yeah. It's like,
you
it's
were
on,
like,
man.
fuck you.
I'm going full on. I'm going Greenpeace on it if he goes for the Wind Rivers.
I'm going to go tie myself to something up there and piss on your kids.
Yeah. I'm not happy.
They're all adults. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, except for Baron, but he's like a little. He's fine. He hasn't done anything wrong yet.
No,
I'll let him. I'll give him the free pass until he does something.
I'm sure you will.
Holding like a elephant's tail or something.
Yeah.
Like fucking the blonde one, Eric.
Ugh.
Ugh. Anyway, yeah, that sounds like a good trip. I really do need to re-engage with nature a bit more. As we may have mentioned on the show, ever since I did a wilderness program when I was younger, I've been a lot more like city, being in town, like, yeah, let's go up and have a fire, drink a little bit. But if somebody wants to come home that night, like, all right, I'll head in, sleep in a
Yeah.
bed. But I was reading some article actually. This is pretty good. Have to remember it off the top of my head. We can revisit this next episode if we want to get into specifics, but a couple scientists got together and were saying that there's a certain amount of outside time every human being should have. And I think they said about a half an hour to 45 minutes outside every day or every other day, something like that. But then on the weekends, you should have about 2 to 3 out in nature, not listening to music or anything, just out amongst that. And then once a year, you should try to spend at least like 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was kind of interesting. And then they were just talking about how it like can reset your circadian rhythms and get you out of the city noise pollution and all that stuff.
The light pollution. And it really does, like, one thing, I agree with you on the bed thing, actually, which I know is surprising, but that's why I kind of like doing the backpacking thing, is because you do have to make that commitment. You're getting way out there. But it's like kind of type 2 fun. Like, the hiking sucks. There's no doubt about that. Like, the actual walking with the pack on is the shitty part. You get up there, you day hike around without a pack. It's a little better. Still, I still don't like hiking them. It's not fun to walk around that, like, the steep stuff. It's hard, but once you get there, the views are amazing. And then the thing is, those last 2 days, like before we're thinking about heading out, and then that day we decided, we're like, okay, that's it. Like, we were 12 miles in and we were like, we're going all the way out. We're going home. We're going to go get warm food and beer. And those things become the most amazing thing ever. And it's kind of like, in a way, it makes you appreciate everything again. You come back and you're like, YouTube.
It's like when you wait a couple days to touch yourself.
Exactly.
It's like way
for
better.
Everything. It's like doing that. It's no fap November for everything in your life.
Yeah. No, I do remember that about wilderness. When I did 8 weeks, and then when we got in a car, being in a car moving was bizarre.
Without walking, right?
Yeah, you're just like, what the fuck is going on? And you could hear the little things going on in the car that you just don't hear.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it then, but we got back into Mesa, Arizona. It was at this Anasazi wilderness program in the Tonto National Forest. We came back into the hotel. I was covered in dirt. It looked like my parents had just picked up a homeless kid off the side of the street and just like, we're going to shower him. So I get in, take a bath, shower. They go to get a bunch of meat stuff from like Wendy's, like a triple cheeseburger and chicken nuggets. And I'm like, I was warned to not eat all that because I hadn't been eating meat during the 8 weeks. And your body, I guess, quits producing a certain enzyme to digest meat properly if you go long enough without it. But I was like, fuck that. I'm eating meat. They got me that meal. I did fine. So whatever that means, I don't know.
Bullshit.
But got all clean, and then I got in the car to go get some more treats. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, can I turn on the radio?" He's like, "Yeah." So I turn it on, and there's like Slipknot playing, which, may or may not be your favorite band, but it has like 9 musicians in it.
Yeah.
And it's like the first time I'm hearing music again after like 8 weeks. And I'm just like, fuck yes. Like you just hear every little bit of the song.
Nice.
And like it's so bizarre to me how your brain will do that. Like if you're listening to music every day, it can kind of just like it just comes this like slog of sound. But if you leave it alone for like 8 weeks, you're like, holy shit, I hear every intricate little thing going on. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
It's like holding off on the nut.
exactly. But the thing is, we carry in a thing of whiskey, so you still keep one fun thing from the other world.
What is that Ned Flanders meme?
Which one?
When you're about to nut a Rita, but she keeps slobbing on the diddly.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's that quite the face he pulls.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so it sounds like a good trip. I'll have to keep that in mind. That's a good philosophy.
When you don't have to backpack, you can go car camping for 3 days. It's totally the same thing.
Sure. No, and I think that's what it is. I need to come back to Logan and just go up the canyon for a night. Have one of those little nice cushiony pad things.
Oh, yeah.
I can do a night easy. It's just, it's like, all right, let's get back into town.
Yep.
But I don't know. Anything else you wanted to get into on this episode?
No, I think I'm good.
All righty. That was a long movie section. It should tighten up quite a bit going forward, just because we've kind of taken a little break here.
Yeah.
That being said, we got a couple other little shorter video things we're going to start doing on the channel. So make sure you're liking and subscribing on our YouTube channel. Like you should just be able to search the Jacob Wayne Show. Of course, like and subscribe the audio too, though, on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen.
All the podcasts.
This is episode 43. You got a title?
Let's see. I don't know. We kind of just talked about a lot of movies.
I had a title for this week, but we didn't get into the subject. Obviously, Texas has just been the asshole kid in the back of the bus, just like poking people and throwing paper airplanes. And I was like, a philosophical debate about which state is worse. I know that they have their good qualities. I lived in one of them, but Florida versus Texas. And we'll have to do that next time. But I was just going to have the episode be Florida versus Texas, but we didn't do it. So would you just say this is almost like another fireside chat?
Yeah, fireside chatting movies.
Yeah. Fireside chatting movies.
There we go.
With that, that was a good episode. Glad to be back at it.
Indeed, we'll be back more regular. Not going out of town anytime soon. So
absolutely. Well,
all right.
You have a good one.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to The Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. Well, Welcome to